to charge. But then I went to visit my daughter in Germany when she was studying. I ran over the border. I see 100 kilometers before I expected. I'm running out of electricity. So he was like, okay, let me stop at a nearby gas station. There is only one plug and that's taken. How long is it going to be taken? For another 2 hours. Okay, I drive another half an hour and then I'm really done. You know, he says, I stopped there. Still not spot. I just called dealership and told them, your car is there. I'm done. Because it was still in this trial period. Mm-hmm. So that was one attempt. And,
move the car somewhere else and run a cable out of a bedroom or something.
It's fine.
I mean,
it's
fine for now.
Yeah.
If we continue with the workshop,
yes.
then we will all be
able
able to
every,
soon.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Do story time later.
Okay.
Okay,
We've
so
decided.
with with the
post
workshops.
conference-
Just a second. For workshops, you cannot do the post conference. I did in Chengdu workshop, so they have really tight timeline, and that's also a little bit later than regular papers. It's not really much later. It's not really that you can do it after the conference also.
I guess if you do separate proceedings, it could
It's a
be
separate
negotiated.
proceeding, right?
I understand you can't do it because there is one volume of workshop proceedings.
Yes.
But no, there's not. Every workshop has
It's
individual
separate
proceedings.
one.
Yes,
Okay.
individual.
That gives us the opportunity for a hackathon cannot be written. The paper cannot be written till after the hackathon.
Yeah.
Explain it to the name I don't want to
April.
mention. You know the
Yes. No.
lady that sends emails.
Yeah, but this is fine. This is a very.
I just didn't want to say the name.
Klaus, you've agreed to do that.
This is a. Look, but this is.
You
a
are
very
gonna be
solid
communicating with her
This
on
is actually just order another set of proceedings with ACM Publishing.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
If SIGMM says no, look, there's another event that has proceedings a month later, then there's going to be another event that has proceedings a month later. And ACM Publishing, whatever, will charge SIGMM something for that. But SIGMM wanted a hackathon, so
Yes, right.
But let's check it if it's possible.
It's possible.
we'll just tell them that this is
Did you ever do it?
what needs to happen,
No.
and then it will happen somehow.
I've also never did it because I know we were breaking spine once with Miriam Reddy. I remember in Brisbane, really to get the papers on time, and it was pretty much like regular proceedings. And also last time I did it for Chengdu, it was also, you know.
Yes, but
Yeah.
they're usually only very specific about their dates, because they say, okay, no, the thing needs to be published at that point in time, therefore you need to send it in time.
We'll
We say,
probably
look,
end up
this is
giving them
published
the
whenever.
dates, and we'll give them a third set of dates for the hackathon publication.
Okay,
And
if you think it's possible.
Yeah,
I
with
believe it's
a
possible.
targeted publication date of end of the year or something,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
then
It's just impossible to do it any other way. So unless you run the hackathon 2 months early, that doesn't make
that's
sense.
not happening.
Yes, doesn't make sense.
Now, we're gonna have my understanding is we're gonna have a call for hackathon topics
Yes.
that are at least somewhat health related. Some of them.
Well, yeah, what we said before was to say it should be data exploration and or data augmentation based on this data set, and then if you want to slant it towards the health thing, in addition to that, fair enough. And this was just going to be the criteria by which this is going to be judged.
Because that's what came out of that workshop.
Yeah, but we can
Based
put that into the call as like
Yeah.
an example and say.
Right.
What happens if nobody comes up with a health-based idea? Then we've just done a hackathon as per SIGMM's request. From the very senior people in the field said, let's do a health-based hackathon.
No, it
We're doing one on
Cathal, it has to be.
on faces.
It has to be. We just say.
You cannot
Look,
control what
if
people want to work
If
with.
people are interested in doing other things with a data set, let people also do other things with a data
So
set.
then should we not
It is-
have ourselves?
I mean, then
Yes,
no, then
but
you.
the thing is, how many people have been at this senior? I've not been invited. I wouldn't know, right?
About
Um,
20.
So,
yeah.
Ka-
So
Cathal-
one of these 20 people are then supposed to propose a
Yeah,
topic.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So now
And I
they basically.
understand that they're all busy, but one of them.
Well, basically, now you should send back mail to them and say, now we have made this. Now it's your turn to actually assemble a group to work on something, right?
Okay.
So it's their responsibility that something
And I
happens.
mean, even most of these people are very senior. They probably have research groups with
Right.
lots of people, so then
Precisely.
they can just go to their group and say, you five, you go to the hackathon and,
Yes.
and work on this, right?
No, no.
Precisely.
So the catch is, I like that one, and I think it would be. So how the city of Amsterdam did it, and I think those were really nice hackathons. There is not a fake, but a clear need. You have these panoramas, and we use them to monitor problems in a public space, crowdiness, this and that, state of the assets, and but it kind of helps if there are more users, if more departments commit to making something useful out of it. So basically, there is some coordination going on. Chief Technology Office approached them, and people are really interested. Genuinely, I have this process, and if I can cut 2 million per year, that's amazing, So they come there and they think, look, it doesn't have to. It can be vague. I said it already. Like advertisement, public advertisement is just Wild West, So can we get it from panoramas? If that panorama is recorded a few times per month, we can. So do something with that. You don't have to be.
Yeah, but I guess it's a difference in terms of the motivation if you work with your own data or data from your own organization, or you do something on another data set. So I think here it's probably we're more targeting the research community with this call than a company saying, oh yeah, this is a kind of a proxy of the problem we are interested in, because then why wouldn't they provide their own data and do a challenge on that?
So what I wanted to say is then they did have clear interest, it seemed, at AC Multimedia, kind of to come up with a few very signature use cases, test beds and so on. And this is one of them, basically. So we could ask, because they had clear ideas about his agents, for example,
Right,
about
yeah,
healthcare.
they should-
Yes, that's what I say.
Yeah.
They have vested interest because that was the part of that.
But there's also research. I think you can't compare it with your example of the end users bringing an interest or someone in the research community be interested. But anyway, they can bring the topic.
Yes, so,
At least
so
help with
now
the brainstorm.
we did the work, we will facilitate this, and then we play the ball back to them and say, look, if you want concrete topics around this area, then you go and make it happen. We set, we gave you the data, we gave you the framework, we gave you the location, we even ordered the catering, right? And you just show up and make it happen. Or send your people if you don't show up yourself, right?
I was more thinking like, how often are those steering type of meetings?
I'm guessing annually, because this is the first time this particular meeting has happened.
No, but last year, oh yeah, that was not happening before.
It's not a steering committee meeting.
Uh-huh. So I was just like thinking, okay, maybe, yeah, let's see. But I think people may be interested in a kind of chipping in with some ideas.
I would
Okay,
say
so-
just let's see how
Yeah,
many
just
topics
call-
we
I
get.
mean,
What happens?
I mean, what you
So
can
that's
what you can still do if you see that there is few submissions or there is no topics covered, directly approach some people
Exactly,
and say,
yeah.
don't you want to propose a topic for
Yes,
this?
and I would go to Stefan. Maybe you can propose garbage detection or something.
Yeah.
I mean, there is lots of
We
garbage
worked very
somewhere.
hard to make data for you.
I'll plug it in somewhere else.
I mean, garbage detection, if you look at
Yeah.
I'm
this,
okay.
yeah.
If you're cold.
I'm not
That's what
cold,
I'm
but if you wanna switch, I can.
looking at.
Oh, like you were looking like you were cold.
No, I'm not
If
cold.
if somebody gives me their bedroom,
What do you want
Your
to?
car into it.
Mine is on the ground
Charging
floor.
must also be faster. with
If
water.
somebody gives me the bedroom, I'm gonna go and sleep there.
I just want to hang the wire out the window.
You can put it in my bedroom, no problem. It's
Hey,
not-
I already hate
Yeah,
this
you don't
sustainability,
have to
man.
use my just in front of the
Okay, fine.
cover
I'll
door.
move the car, then everybody's going to be warm, right?
No, not now.
Workshop first.
Yes,
We are
we're
not-
gonna finish this,
No
otherwise
3-minute
this is
breaks.
not gonna...
You know what's
You're
bizarre?
staying here.
You know what's bizarre? We are now helping the planet by charging this with electricity, but we are also cooling the home, so the heating is working harder. So I think we already kind of.
Oh, don't worry, the building isn't that well insulated anyway.
Yep.
Okay, so let me summarize this to say we have decided as some kind of a process to which a hackathon takes place. One of those hackathons will be suggested to senior SIGMM people to be a healthcare one that they figure out based on this data set. Here's details of the data set.
No.
Other people can propose hackathons as well.
No.
Well, topics.
Topics for the hackathon.
So the hackathon is based on the
Hackathon is one
Yes.
thing,
Okay.
right? It's one
there is
thing.
one hackathon.
Yes.
It is going to be, so this particular hackathon is going to use this particular data set.
What happens
And-
if the second hackathon?
There's no
There's no
second
second
hackathon.
hackathon.
What happens if Huawei Dublin come in and say we want to do a hackathon on social media something? Do we go, yes, fine, of course, welcome, let's do it? Will it be seen that we
Depends on how much money they give you.
Okay.
I would
No,
say.
it has never happened before, so we do
Yes.
not need to plan for this event.
Yeah.
this
But
was-
it
if
means
it
basically if
happens-
you give you enough money, you do.
So this is interesting. I think we could have two models that are also justifiable. So our community, our own community, SIGMM decided to have one hackathon that's based on a real heterogeneous multimedia data and health-based topics. If anybody else would like hackathon, well, you have to fund it somehow through either
Well,
awards
I-
and apply so that we can check whether it fits.
I don't see it happening for this year. I guess this may be something for the year after when people see the hackathon
probably.
happening and saying
Right.
next year we'd like
Yeah.
to do something else.
So
I wouldn't care about this topic this
so
year.
given that this never happened before, I don't expect that people will just running in outdoors and say, oh, I want to host another hackathon at your venue.
Right.
Because the great success of the hackathon that hasn't happened yet inspired me to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I don't think this is something we need to worry about, and on the off chance that somebody actually comes, then we will figure out what to do.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
But there's a single hackathon.
There's a single
hackathon.
there's the
Many topics, one
SIGMM
hackathon.
sponsored hackathon around the data set
Yes.
that is
Yeah.
being created this very moment.
Yes.
But yes, you're actually on camera, in case you haven't noticed.
But Luca, I have just one request. Because you mentioned also it could be some gaming related topic.
Well,
then we
it's
should
more of a
also allow that.
motivation-y kind of thing.
Sorry?
This is more of a motivation-y kind
Motivation,
of thing, right?
yeah,
It's,
but
as in-
that's
as
what I
in
told to
Make
Matthias
it
also.
playful.
Yeah, but
it's
why not? I mean,
Yeah,
people
yeah.
could.
It's more.
I mean, you could.
I was thinking more of gamification than of actual video games. But if somebody wants to make a video game out of this
Like
somehow,
like
You
a
could
game
you could
changer.
have animated characters from all of us. You have
yeah,
enough data.
sure, if they want to.
Sounds awesome.
Uh-huh.
The enthusiasm.
No,
Okay,
but I mean,
not a problem.
It's,
We can-
it's got.
we
I
can
would
discuss
I
this
would
later.
try and set as few constraints
Make
as
your characters
possible,
survive
and then just
a
let
workshop.
people run with it.
Yeah.
And just essentially set the bounds that this is actually realistic.
Yeah.
That we think that this has a reasonable chance of succeeding within the parameters we can enable.
Yeah.
But I was just saying that it does not need to be in relation to our data set, right?
No, it should be in.
It
the-
Should be,
it
should be.
should be in
Yeah.
relation to the data
Yes.
set
Yeah.
Okay,
somehow.
yes.
You can
I
make,
think so.
I guess you can make any gamification approach out of it. Like, for example, trying to, I mean, and this could even be health related, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you find, or you try to mine patterns of incentives for, I don't know, for moving, for drinking less alcohol,
Or-
for whatever, and
or
you
I-
try to make a game out of that.
Yeah.
I guess it should at least be applicable to the data set and demonstrated based on the data
Okay.
set.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
even if you have a
With,
thing
with the
you say, I'm
sweets also,
gonna do
what do you say? Because we
gamified
had them
data
positioned such that
augmentation,
it's
that
so
is
easy to eat sweets.
theoretically
Yeah.
applicable
Why
to
not?
any
Yeah.
video
A
stream,
good
then
example.
that is great. That
Room
it
Coco's
is also
behind
applicable to this video stream, and you're supposed to
Yeah.
demonstrate that it is, at least among other things,
Okay.
applicable to this.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll write an email summarizing all of that. I'll run it by everybody.
I wrote some notes. I
Okay.
think that's
I'll run it
one
by
of the
everybody,
exercises.
And I will send it to Alan, Alberto, and Ramesh, who were organising it.
Mm-hmm.
So here's
Yeah.
what we came up with.
Yes. And basically, I mean, there was the talk of data augmentation, data visualization or representation, but
Yeah.
you could have kind of orthogonal, say, health would be one of the
Health
things.
is
Yeah.
one that- health is going to be figured out anyway.
Yeah,
We'll have to
yeah.
one health, but there's other ones we can.
So just a
Right.
second. Now we diverged. First, you said that all solutions, all the work has to be health related.
No,
No,
No, no.
There must be a health related.
Yeah.
no, it's an option to make health-related
So
projects.
health is one of the topics of interest.
Yes.
It is
We
the
want
thing
to
we're going to suggest.
encourage having one
Right.
We're going
topic.
to encourage
Include-
that
Yes.
this is going to have a health angle. If people really say no, but I really want to do 40 point cloud Gaussian splattering, whatever, then let them do 40 point cloud Gaussian splattering.
Okay, so we
or
get
whatever
back
it's
and
called.
we have a data set and a facilitation
Right.
process to support.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we can incentivize by saying that one of the awards is gonna go to healthcare related topic, and the rest.
No, I think
No.
No,
No,
if
oh,
we
good.
go with,
Give
if
a
we
sample.
go with,
because what you do if you just have one healthcare related
Yeah.
topic, then
it's like a
Give them a
hackathon.
award.
If you have a really bad one.
yeah, no,
Give them award. They tried.
no.
No,
No.
I mean,
Look, it could be as simple as recipe books.
Isn't this millennial thing? Everybody gets a medal. What's
Yeah,
the-
Yeah, but
Let's not do that. Taking part is its own reward.
You're
Yes.
not millennial, man. It doesn't concern you.
first of all, of course,
Okay,
of course
boomer.
I
Can you give me please?
Okay, we have the hackathon. I think that's okay. That's moving it along.
Next in the agenda.
Next in the agenda.
Next in the agenda was the thinking beyond, or trying to apply the learnings and all the discussions back to the things we already have, right? So we've been doing LSC, we've been doing VBS for several years now. We have grown the data sets that are used for these benchmarks, and with the new data sets we also have new variations on type of tasks that we can do. Given such a data set as this, and possibly even whatever may come after this, what directions do we foresee in, or what are consequences for these challenges that we foresee, that new opportunities that would open up, and what would we need to do to make that happen?
I mean, clearly one opportunity I see is, I think we all find question answering tasks very interesting,
Yes.
and having especially these complex and aggregating question answering tasks. And for example, on V3C, this is not really possible because of the diversity of things. You can't ask a question across the entire data set unless you have really watched everything. While here you have a closed world and you have certain constraints to know that something has happened or has not happened, and if it has happened, these are the places to check. So you could more easily have these kind of question answering queries that need to draw information from various types of the content.
I mean, yes, I for specifically for V3C, I could also foresee something that is a variation on a question answering task that essentially says something between question answering and ADS, that you have a find me instances that answer a particular kind of question, as in show me how to show me examples of, I don't know, complete sequences of preparing questions, not a single bit, but find me all the instances across various things.
No, but I think especially these kind of aggregation, like the how many times did I fly in here, which airline did I take? So all these things need like a closed set of data, and I think this is enabled by a data set like this one. And I think these are tasks that are fairly close to practical challenges.
Yeah, but I think you can also do some data exploration analytics. So find all the
of course,
people helping. And then not just process people helping, but find all the aspects. Things like that.
Yeah, of course, definitely. I mean, yeah, you have and I think also having trouble with investment with events or like you have it as an art where it's really like cool where the whole company comes together for this session. I know thinking how you scale the CO2 content for this. Yeah, I could still happen in the future, right? But yeah.
So is that enough separation? So it's mostly
Yeah, I mean it could be like a track, like a more fragmented calculation.
We can still keep the interactive thing based on the happen in the slot and then see just see what happens, right? So this is also people see had some years to yeah. I mean especially DPS is now an integral part of everything. LSC is technically still a satellite event, technically still a workshop that technically needs to be approved every year. Some year a workshop will say no they will probably be
I know in theory for MMA, we don't. We kind of do. We have probably never.
There have been very few rejections, but mostly because people need to decide to
I mean, the rule is basically any reasonably understandable system that can with some shepherding turn into a readable paper.
Maybe it is. But I want to go back to that question. So move it actually makes a difference.
We'll be doing proceedings just that this is a trap.
So I got pushback on it.
I think you also integrate the legal data set there, where you see because it fits perfectly into it, right? Yes, it would also fit because it's legal type.
But that's the interactive side. Then we focus on the
It's very similar. Semantically, they're still quite different.
And I mean, to be honest, like if you take in the data set, I mean, like a group of people being metastatic is not a different
So
here,
but
right?
we've never done anything really explicitly, right? So we don't have the weighting subtask.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is something we could possibly do for whatever comes up with the
Definitely fit into VPS because we have so many types already.
I mean, how would you split the track? Yeah, do a separate session.
That's anyway something that is increasingly a problem with we have seen this year, that we had so many different things going on, so
Yeah.
many different combinations of data sets and task
Yeah.
types, that for every for every single combination there were only very few instances. So the amount of data that we actually have, the amount of results, keeps getting smaller and smaller. Or we lean into it. Cutting down would mean we keep the time frame of saying, look, this is a half day actual challenge, so full day event, but there's still some time to everybody getting settled, and then we only have the 6 hours or so to actually do evaluations, and there's only so many tasks, so we need to scope this down. Or we say, no, there's going to be tracks. People can sign up for tracks, and then this might be a 2-day thing that runs even possibly in parallel to some of the more of the main conference, because it just needs more time. And then we say explicitly, okay, this type of thing is on first day in the morning, this type of thing is on first day in the afternoon, and then people can decide, do they want to do all of it, do they want to do some of it, but then it becomes more.
And to be honest, even having longer expert sessions in the past years has always been logistic trouble.
Yeah.
With conference starting on Monday, not being able to get the rooms on Sunday,
Right.
so I find it quite difficult.
I think an alternative version would be to kind of keep the 3C collection as the main collection, and then work with 1 or 2 satellite collections which
I would
could
also
rotate,
agree, so.
right?
Yeah.
Because now there's the question of how much more do we learn now from, for example, the medical collection. We know it's extremely hard.
Yeah.
Do we need to, or is this now the new side collection that we would go with?
Yeah. So I personally would even prefer using only V3C at BPS in the future, but for question answering tasks, and removing the medical data set maybe again, and removing also the MVK again.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is a good direction to plan the next generation of challenge data set.
Right.
Because I mean, V3C was primarily designed for TrackWid, so I had quite some discussions with the people behind TrackWid, specifically the ABS track at TrackWid, to see, okay, what is it they would want and need from this. And then it was mostly, oh, we have this new thing, we might as well use it for VBS as well. Given that a new one is coming up within the foreseeable future anyway, we could do some explicit scoping of the requirements and then see what we would need to design for the foreseeable future of properties we already know. And probably by the time we're through with it, it's going to be obsolete anyway, because there's going to be new questions that require new types of data.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. And in addition, I think if we have one data set only for VPS, it would definitely simplify everything, or even the barrier to go into the competition.
I mean,
for the teams.
it could be just restricting task types. So as you say, maybe keeping
QA.
one for QA, and then maybe having visual non-item search still for specific types of data, right?
Or maybe for LSC. I mean,
So for me, LSE is a lifelong search challenge.
And it should remain that.
Yes, it should remain a lifelong search challenge. It's
It's
it's in the name.
We have to keep them separate, right?
Yeah.
Now what we're doing in this conversation is saying there's a BBS, there's an LSE,
And that one also has a lower barrier to entry,
and there's a POD.
even than the video browser.
I had to laugh. For me, LSC is a lifelong search challenge. do I need to write it?
No, this is not a lifelong.
That blurs the difference between LSE and VBS.
This is not a lifelong.
No, because semantically,
Like this is the POV challenge.
no, because I guess, and I don't want to go too much into the philosophical discussion of what a lifelog is, but so far the lifelog, the notion of what a lifelog is, has been dictated by what type of data was possible to collect and what type of data was possible to be made available for this sort of thing, given the technology that existed at the time of the recording of this live log. Right, because this is also a type of live log.
Yes,
it is just something that you
it's
would.
a merging of the two somehow.
But his stream would be his live log. My stream is my live log.
Yes,
I don't
exactly.
think stationary
But-
cameras.
No, stationary camera. Well,
They could be. I mean,
stationary
but
camera.
yeah.
There
was
could
just-
be such a thing
Sure,
as
sure.
a multi-perspective live log. If you
Fair
say,
enough.
look, for
Yes.
the person one has a lot of stationary cameras in their house and spends a lot of time in their house, and person two spends a lot of time abroad or all over the place and is having a wearable camera, and person three does not have a camera at all, but essentially narrates their audio log and takes a bunch of pictures. All of these things could
Sure.
be
A live
different
log, yes.
forms of live logs.
Yeah, this is,
Right.
this
This
is
is
more
true.
community life log, more group
So
life log.
it's still different to what the LSC up until now has done. Right?
Yes,
It's been a single person live log. let's say.
but is it because this is precisely the challenge that is the best challenge there could be, or is it because this is the task that could be reasonably made available and therefore the best feasible task that could actually be implemented? As in, if there was instrumentation to record many more things, would we want that, or do we say no, we want explicitly image sequence thing because for some reason this particular thing is the
For
most
the LSC
interesting?
challenge, we still do have more multimodal data than anybody actually uses, right?
Right.
So it's still there. You can still use the heart rates and all those things if you want to use it. Just
I mean, so far there have been very few questions, very few
Right.
tasks where it would actually be useful.
Yes.
So it's a bit of a chicken and egg
Yes.
thing, right?
Yes.
nobody's processing it.
Yes.
Yeah, so I would recommend for LSC that we only keep the image-based data set because the entry barrier is much lower for new teams.
For as long
And-
as that seems sensible, right?
Yeah.
And maybe at ACM Multimedia, we use this
POV.
video-based data set for this asynchronous competitions, kind of, yeah. Which not on-site live competition.
At least for the next year or two. And VBS still uses VLC.
Yes.
And
V3C.
Yeah, V3C. Yeah.
VLC.
VLC is something else.
Yeah,
It's probably also used.
but that's still.
Whenever you open that video,
Yes.
It's not just to keep the separation
Sure.
between the three different.
How do you mean?
things, right?
I think you're right.
That's
Hi.
important. and
So
that's
have
just-
to.
If we move LSC to use this data set,
Is it better?
LSC ultimately becomes that multimedia team.
Yeah.
At MM.
Is now good?
If you, there's danger for VBS as well. If you
Yeah.
go into this data set that it's why are you
Am
doing
I
it
good?
twice? Just do it once.
So let's keep their focus.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have the focus kept on the data sets, and in 2 years' time or 18 months' time,
I
at
think
Castle
I'm.
2, we can
Ali
recall
told
back
me a
and
bit
say, well,
taller
that's
than
successful,
it
this
shoots.
POV thing bit.
Yeah.
Yes, but I mean, independently of that, there might I still foresee a future where several years down the line, LSC might have a very different type of data set.
Absolutely. Yes,
Because
that's
at
right.
that
Yeah.
point, there might be variable cameras that essentially do this type of data, but they are small enough that you can clip it to a shirt and wear it all the
The
time.
first ever lifelong challenge we did at NTCIR was from 3 people for a month each. Right? We actually did start off with more people, but just it became more of a headache to keep that going.
Right.
It became 2 people, it became 1 person. So
Yeah. So
Turn off your camera.
yeah.
So there will be lunch ready in about 10 minutes.
Oh, good. I'm so hungry.
Can I just write up something? Can I try to summarize what I heard?
Yes.
LSC, VBS, and ACMMM Grand Challenge / Hackathon should be having unique signatures. VBS is VBS. Let's put it. So let's stay with LSC, which is kind of smallest in scope. LSC should be focused on personal life log data. There should be a task that's visual only to provide, I would say, a low threshold for participation. but nobody prevents people from using also the other data such as geocoordinates and so on and so on.
And I mean, I think it would be interesting to have tasks that actually would.
Yes,
Just
at
put
least to
pressure on
think
people
a few,
integrating
you know,
more and
like
more.
Yeah. On the other hand, I mean, I guess we're deliberately sometimes avoiding tasks that are easy to solve with geolocation or things like that.
Yeah, but I'm saying, you know, elevate heart rate or elevation or something like
those
this.
things,
So
yes, but
more,
like
more rare.
I mean, especially for ad hoc kind of queries, it might also be interesting to do more of a when did I exert myself on the weekend kind of things,
Yes.
right? Which you don't necessarily get from the images.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Things like this. So
Where do I
essentially,
like to party?
so essentially, there's an aim towards more semantic distinction of the different events.
So let's see.
Smell. You check the oven?
Yeah, I checked it. It looks good.
Recently?
It looks good.
Okay.
Just a few minutes ago.
Okay.
Hey, but with these ovens, I have to tell you, it looks like nothing is happening, and then all of a sudden, just
I know,
But
it's
also from a purely task implementation point of view. I mean, we already talked about this, I don't know, yesterday or 2 days ago. That even the way the tasks are phrased or are conducted have quite some like room
The
for
other seems not. The lower one. It might not be ready at the same
for
time.
design variations. So the motivation behind instant search, known item search, the way I always understood it was I've seen this thing before somewhere at the point in time where I didn't have the chance to actually note anything down or take a picture or anything, and now I want to find it again. And we're trying to simulate this process where you need to inject this memory somehow.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I mean, we're trying to do some experiments how well this memory injection thing actually represents what we're doing, but we haven't seen a lot of variation on how this is done. So I would actually really propose to say, okay, why don't we have this more conversational style, for example, and say, okay, there's volunteers that are being shown the clips.
Yeah.
And then we can see, do they have access to the clip, or they're shown the clip beforehand and then they actually have to remember.
Yeah.
And then they're just there and say, okay, I'm going to describe this to you and you can shout questions at me. And then maybe we need to have a not everybody shouting at once kind of mechanism. But this would essentially be a new variant of KISS, which is less predictable, but is inherently more interactive because it is actually back and forth between an intelligent agent, as in a person describing what they remember, and all the people searching for it.
So we should also probably consider that now, and that you have an IR, maybe that's like for them, people are increasingly kind of playing with LLM taking that role. So instead of having these volunteers, you could actually take a very large model, show it the content alongside the ground truth, and actually make it act as some sort of oracle.
Well, you don't need the content alongside the ground. I mean, if you describe a ground truth, I think that there's two things here. One thing is you show it the content, but then you rely on the capabilities of that model doing the visual interpretation, which is a bit dangerous, I think. What I could imagine is you try to write it down and then you purely rely on the text of looking up things in that particular text, for which I think the LLM would be much more reliable.
Yeah, I'm not saying there is one way to do that, because people are playing, hey, what can they do actually?
Given that this is going to be a one-shot interactive thing anyway, I'm much more inclined to actually have a person there.
Yeah, I mean, why not have a person and have an LLM in parallel, just to benchmark that one?
Yes, but we can also do that.
That could be interesting papers later.
But to have I'm gonna ask you something strange because this is how my system happens to work, and the LLM may or may not have ever thought of that.
Yeah.
But also this is then a thing of the person. And so, oh well, let me think. Maybe I remember, or maybe I don't. Right?
Exactly.
I mean, we had this thing, for example. So, well, if I know that my OCR is very good, then I'm going to pay attention to any little piece of text that's on the screen, even though you probably would never have paid attention to this if you just had seen it in the wild. Whereas probably if you actually just show it to a person without priming them to, oh yeah, by the way, I have a very good OCR, they're just not going to know.
Yeah, exactly.
Or maybe they do, or maybe they misremember. But then you have the actual...
So you know who would know it? If you provide your paper, like let's say VBS submission to a large model, it could pick up what the components are, probably even better than...
No, but the large model does either know or it doesn't, right? So it's not going to pay attention differently based on the papers you prime it. It either has the visual capabilities of extracting this information or it doesn't. And probably something OCR-y is way lower in the semantic hierarchy, so it will have a much easier job of saying, was there any text on the screen? It says, yes, there's all the text I remember seeing on the screen. Whereas, was this shot in Southern Europe? And so, well, how would I know, right?
I mean, and there's really, I mean, we had a summer intern working on video to text this summer, and exactly this point that you mentioned of named places. This is something where we compare different models, and they differ a lot. Some never fix any location, others always give you a location. Sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong. So these things you really see, like, did they have some geo-reference data in the training, or how much of that did they have? But I mean, I like this idea, and I think it really, I like it also because it highlights the importance of doing that in the interactive session. This is not something you can do asynchronously. Whether you do it with people or with models, the answers will never be the same. So you have to do that in the interactive challenge.
So it would be reasonably easy to implement. The only thing that we would need to make sure is that there is some sort of audio-video recording of the event, so we actually have a record of this dialogue that happened. Because otherwise you just put the same thing into the race and just as a hint you leave it empty. And you have a person there who is instructed to answer these questions, and the system still will know what the ground truth is and will judge accordingly.
I guess a question is also like how to design it. Maybe it could be like a panel of people there who do this answering, just to balance memory capabilities of people. Some people being better at visual things, some people better at conceptual things. So maybe having like a panel of 3 people there, and together they answer, and they also have to agree what they answer.
But what is the practical scenario and practical, let's say, research questions?
So something like this is much closer to the scenario of you having the memory and needing to investigate a system, or even imagine way back when we had archivists for this sort of thing, that would be the only ones having access to the collection. You walking up to the archivist and say, look, I need this type of footage from way back when, I know I've seen it, and then it's okay, let me help you try to find it. Right? What was it about?
And what you do is you equalize conditions, because we had these cases where we thought about showing people video clips before and then have their memory let it find it. But then it depends on the memory capabilities, visual memory capabilities of the individual participant. Here you level this for all. You have the same visual memory for all.
What we could even do is have give the person some visualizer thing or so they can draw things or on the whiteboard or on a flip chart and say, oh yeah, it was sort of like this, and there was this person over there. Because we also have the differences, especially when for the textual tasks. There's on the one hand the cultural and the knowledge context. So if you say a particular thing, it invokes a different image in my mind than it might invoke in somebody else's. There's also different levels of how visual people are actually thinking. So how much of an image this actually invokes. And probably all of this somehow feeds into the process, and it's very hard to quantify how and to what degree.
Right.
And we've so far never even attempted this, because it is, how would you even design this? But if you have another person serving as a proxy for this, it at least moves the variability from all the participants to that one person to at least some degree.
Yeah. But then I mean, you're talking about less time pressure to solve this kind of task.
Not necessarily.
No.
I mean, we would probably give it a bit more time, because just the dialogue part takes a bit of time, and not everybody can shout questions at the same time.
Right.
But we still see many tasks are solved way ahead of the time limit, so it might get us a more spread field and closer to the time limit. We could just set the maximum time higher, and if we are done, we are done.
Right.
Yeah, I'd probably increase the maximum time just to be sure, and then see how much we actually need.
I mean, we've talked about this a few things. Like, ideally, you would have infinite working time until the last team submitted, because then you really know a more precise ranking. But for practical reasons, we cut off somewhere, right?
You can. I mean, the point is that if there's too much time pressure, people would not be as much inclined to use this. Aspect of
that's
this.
true. That's true. Yeah, I mean, that's what we also.
That would be my worry. Basically, is this that if everybody's here?
You're right. I mean, I had the experience that I was trying to give hints during the competition, and nobody realized it because they were
too busy with their own thing, right? Yes. Yeah. Or you could say that we don't accept answers until after a certain time. So you have a free.
That could also
4
be
minutes.
Yeah.
If you're ready by then, yes, you're one of the quickest.
Well, you can accept the answers, but you're just not gonna tell people.
Right.
If
it's correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, but then that would guide your questions, right? So.
Yeah, but I mean, people are just gonna shut up once they're.
Yeah.
Once
they
they're
think
done.
they have it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then,
but
I mean,
maybe
even if the system, I mean, the race is just gonna give you a green thing or a red thing, but it's not going to tell you what it was.
Yeah.
So unless you explicitly wanted to, but in this case we wouldn't. And then even say, oh yeah, team whatever found it based on the answer to that question that you all also heard.
Yeah.
So it's the same information available to everybody.
Yeah.
Right. Somehow I cannot kind of get rid of the thought that this is already conversation that we have, because what happens on the spot, people are asking and there is a piece of information being revealed, and sometimes you guys are also giving some hints, and so on.
I have no control over what that information is, whereas if you came to me and wanted me to find something for you, I would ask you the things that I would need to know to close the gap between what I have and what you want. Whereas if I say, okay, now I really need to know if it's a landscape or a portrait, and then the next thing you say, oh yeah, by the way, there's a tree in the background.
So can't we make it like this? So then this is good what you say. So teams are working on, conversational, let's say, search task. And then after maybe a minute or two, we allow them, or maybe immediately, kind of once or twice during that time period, to answer some questions. And, there are going to be some questions there popping up from different teams. They can ask maybe one question each. You are not happy about it?
No, go ahead.
Then it gets a game theory aspect, because the questions are answered all at the same time. There's a time limit. The answer to the questions are going to be available to everybody. So then you will, since you want to win this, you will try and ask questions that help you most while revealing as little useful information
As
to
possible.
everybody else. If you can do that. So the questions are going to be very narrow to the capabilities of your thing. Which may or may not be a good representation of.
So then,
can I
yeah,
jump in
please.
I think, like, this conversational aspect. I think when we're making tasks, you know, there's kind of an implicit conversation in mind, right? What are the questions that might be asked, and in which order do I want to answer them, right?
Exactly.
So one option that is in between would be that teams are allowed to submit questions, but basically on the spot, and they're anonymous, so you don't know which team is asking which question. On the spot, you create the next step, right? Or you might have multiple different alternatives for the next step. I now decide what's going to be the next thing that I give out. That may or may not answer your question or your question.
So I mean,
right?
so what we could do is, rather than everybody shouting their questions, we could use one of these audience participation tools where people can submit and vote on questions.
Right.
But then it again has the interaction burden that I actually need to type in my question. I need to look at all the questions that are already there.
Well, you would type in your question. You don't know any other questions.
So without revealing you what's we are working on a paper
hints.
for SIGIR. We are now working on a paper for SIGIR, so please don't use this idea. But I think many other people use the same. So there is this interesting aspect of diffing, you know, like you have one set, you have another set, and okay, that one I will kind of tell you. So just translating it without going into that one, it's not related to this story. When you get those results, basically you would like to know how far is it from the ground truth, and the ground truth is sort of this mental image of what you just described. That's like information need. And Oracle, meaning you and a system, knows that Oracle beforehand because we probably answered it. So now there are these tools, and they're getting increasingly good, you know, like in diffing, kind of asking, hey, what is there and not in this set, or from this set, which one's called. So maybe people could, just as a help, they don't have to use it, without asking question, they select some examples and submit them there to you, and somewhere mid or few times during that process they get automatic feedback.
So whenever it is wrong, they get information about what
why is it wrong?
Yes, this is a very interesting approach.
But you could do that also with a human there. I mean, you don't have to automate it.
It's very heavy, you know, like meaning
no, you will
especially if you have 16 teams,
you don't want someone to select their one best 1,000 images and tell me what's different, right?
Yeah, I know.
I guess you can guide that and say you can select send one image per minute or so.
No, you could even do this and say no. The submission process and the scoring process is exactly the same. But rather than just getting the feedback, your submission was correct, your submission was not correct. Every time it was not correct, you're also getting more information back, because this is also more what would happen if you were to talk to the archivist and say, is it this? And they say, no, it's similar, but it's not like.
Yeah, but then.
And these are the attributes that it misses, you know.
Yeah, but the difficult thing is then you're giving information to one team. You don't give it the same information to everyone.
Because they submitted certain thing. Everybody has that.
These are two independent things. Both of them are very interesting. I would kind of want to try both. One of them is much more easy to implement than the other. Because this diffing thing would actually need to be built, whereas the other is really just it needs a volunteer and they need to be shown some clips. But this is a very interesting idea.
So you know what's the problem with volunteer? I can tell you that. So I didn't have it with technology students, like never ever. But now in some tracks I have social sciences students. And I think they're also wired a little bit differently, so they perceive everything as a bit of negotiation, conversation, or maybe it kind of just changed, you know. So whenever I make an exam, there is going to be a few of them, you know, like that start. First, I think you have an error in your exam. And I'm like, no, I checked them all in a notebook. There is no error there. It's code. It's very simple to check. Are you sure about it? I'm like, yeah, I'm totally sure, you know. And then it starts. Yeah, but I don't get it. Why is it not this one? And, you know, that starts really being conversation, and you want to kind of remove any unclarity that's potentially there.
Yeah,
But then you're always
don't
afraid
think
how
there's
much
any
did you reveal,
Yes.
you know, like
I-
because
I-
to that person you almost solved the question and started like you could say I don't want to do it at all, or
I get what you're saying, but this is probably much more of a problem in reality than it would be at such a benchmark, because you can more clearly instruct the. I mean, it's not really going to be a volunteer.
Generally
as
speaking,
in-
you have smarter people.
you have people more in tune with the spirit of the task.
Yeah, fair enough.
so.
That is-
Are we writing up something about it, about diffing or not?
I think this is a great thing, and we should try to have this implemented in 26.
Yes.
Because that would also require some actual technical work to be done, whereas the other thing is really some
So you know
organizational
what? By that time, if it's 26, we are already solving some of these things with Hongi, like diffing, also negative. For what if everything is relevant? So that's particular one that interests Evangelos a lot, because in most cases, when you start talking about these conversations, all things are irrelevant,
Yeah.
and you basically have to kind of somehow deal. It's none of this. It's none of
Yeah.
this. It's none of this. So what do you tell to a team that
it's
submitted
also-
something that's?
I mean, it's also doing this for video is probably the thank you.
So I write this up.
Is the most difficult modality of all the standard modalities we currently deal with. Even if you have a state-of-the-art vision language model, they're not designed for video, right? They're designed for images. And of course you can say, okay, I do frame selection, but if the action is different, then or if the dynamics are different,
Why are you laughing?
then you're not being able to
Oh, that's
to
why I'm
capture this. But this is definitely something that would be very interesting to build. But we would need to essentially build this into the system somehow, right? So everybody gets consistent replies.
2, 3.
And then probably
We need
need
four
to
more.
deploy this on a more powerful machine. Because even the state-of-the-art vision language models that only do single images as inputs are very heavy.
Yeah, no. So, but that we can actually, maybe we can also.
Yes.
I suggest that
We can-
maybe we
we
can
do this for
collaborate.
26. Yes.
No. But I mean, we do some more scientific papers on it next year. Test it. I have a PhD working on it now. Building a simulator, basically.
I would absolutely be up for that and try to implement this as a type of task for VBS 26.
Yeah.
I would still hope to try the person in the
VPS
loop thing.
26. That's in Prague.
Yes.
I'm TPC chair, so I'll be
Oh,
there as
okay.
well. Okay.
Okay, great.
Yeah, basically helping Honza. I kind of wasn't next to MM, you know, like, and I did MMM already. So, but he really asked me. It's my former PhD student,
Okay.
Honza Zahalka. So, helping him and Kuba, basically.
Okay.
So next year somehow we can try this with
yes, we should absolutely.
with Hongi. We are already building this thing. I don't guarantee how it's gonna end up.
For text, for
Okay,
video,
then I
for
think we
what?
have everyone.
For image and video. We have some
Okay.
video datasets and we have some.
Okay.
We have everyone.
Okay.
Enough 11.
Yeah.
Meaning primarily we wanna.
Yeah.
The colleague with whom I supervise him does a lot of text, so for him it's also interesting multimodality, and he has more and more PhDs doing
No, but
multimodality.
this is definitely something interesting that. But that requires to invent new things.
Yes,
So
there are
if we
some.
need to
Ask
build a
me in
machine that does
2
this.
weeks. Ask me in 2 weeks because Hongi claims that one of these that recently came out is pretty good starting point for that.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, building this from scratch is anyway feasible.
I'm going to move this, so
Unless
wait,
you have much more data
can
and
unplug
compute
and then
available
you-
than
Can you unplug?
wait than me.
All right, unplug. Let's do it the other way. You give me this, I move it inside.
Hey, your sustainable car is potential pain in the back.
do you think it's feasible to do this in 25 with